Bang! Yo and welcome to Thursday with me. I'm Mateusz and I'm trying to cure my coding depression with, of course, more coding. I'm creating MMO, arena-like PvP game from scratch in C++, and every week I present what I did during the past week and I do live coding, implementing something new in the game. So yeah, and that's it. So let's just see what I did during the past week. In the last episode, we were implementing cursor changing. So now when you try to move some item, you get the feedback from the game that you actually do something, because previously you just had the default arrow cursor and now it's changing to some hand. It actually doesn't matter at this point to what graphic the cursor is changing. I'm just glad that we have the logic in place. So yeah, you can change cursor to this hand using when you move items from backpack to backpack and on the ground, and the cursor is changing when you hover the window resize area, let's say, because on the right hand side we have a sidebar. There are three kinds of windows, three types of windows: quick access bar, which is this, um, container window, which is our main backpack, and like two debug windows. So yeah, if you want to resize the container window, you can hover this area, grab it, and just do whatever you want, and the cursor changes. And there is an additional logic. So when you try to move item and you hover the area, there is a logic to not change cursor to these two arrows, because we are in the middle of some action, which is moving item, which is good. And next thing is that a week ago I told you that I started working on moving windows, because it would be handy if you could move windows in the sidebars. So now you can grab the window and just it gets detached when you grab it, and when you hold it and move around, you can drop it somewhere. And as you can see, when we are okay, this doesn't work perfectly, but when we move it around, the like area where the drop when the window would end up is highlighted. So here, if we drop the window here, it will be moved between those two purple windows, which is great. So we can move windows around. We can move it up here. Anyway, yeah. So that's cool. The next thing is you can have containers in containers. So right now this window is like the main container, our main backpack, and we can move some items here, and these items can be actually another containers. So you can have a backpack in a backpack, and now we can go into this backpack by using right click and move some more items there. And now if I would like to go up to the main backpack, I can use this pretty cool button to move one window up. If we click it on the in the main backpack, it doesn't work because it's like a root backpack. So now we have this backpack, and we can take another backpack, and yeah, and now we can move up here. Then I worked to be able to open the containers in a new window, and now when you hold the shift, which is what I'm doing right now, and you right click on the container, and it will pop up in a new window, which is handy. You may ask, what if I go up here, which is we are in the main backpack, and now we go up here. you will end up just with two windows like displaying the same container. So now if we move one more item to one of them, it is like the view of the container. So the change is indicated, it's rendered everywhere. Yes, and the last thing that I worked on, let me restart the server, was opening containers, for example, that lay on the ground, because it was not so trivial too. Right now, when you right click on a container on this backpack that lays on the ground, it will pop up as a window right here. Great, and you can move items there. There are a lot of cases that I need to handle still in these not owned containers, because the containers that you own, which is like the main container and the container that you hold in your main container, I call them owned containers, and every container that is not owned, okay, something doesn't work here, but every container on the ground, on anywhere that you don't own it, it is not owned container. And I still need to work on this. Whoa, we have a crash in server, and we will stop here and go to live coding right now and maybe fix this issue, or not, we will see, or I will just create ticket and fix it a year later. We will see. So yeah, live coding. Now, before live coding, actually, what are we going to code today, you may ask? I will answer this question right now. We are going to work with the not owned containers. So, if you are a player right here in the middle of the map, in the middle of the game window, and you see a backpack, that is not a backpack here. Let me finish, it will be perfect. Oh man. Yeah, and you have a backpack here. And you would like to open this backpack. Nothing simpler. You can just right click. Right click on it, like right here, and the window will pop up like I showed you. So let's start the server and let's start the client. And so yeah, we have this situation right here. So now I right click on it and a new window pops up and everything works perfectly. Yeah, so we have a sidebar here and the new window is popped up here. That is good. But I want to implement something like this. I want to have a mechanics in the game that you can only like see and open containers, not owned containers, when you are close to it. So if you are 1 square away, like we are here, 1 square away from the container, you can open it and view it, like see what's inside and take some items and stuff like that. But if you would go 1 square here, so now the player would be where is some rubber? No, let's delete it. Let's delete this one and this and this, and now we are going to have the player here, which is 2 squares away. The window should be actually closed. No more. The window is no more for us. It will just close. Right now in the game, when you go one tile down, one square down, nothing happens, but I want this window to disappear from here. So basically what that means is let's go to no color. Okay, basically what I want is like we have a client and the server application, and when you open a window, let's say the client requests to open to subscribe to the window, to the container, to the server, and server sends some let's say a snapshot of the items that are in this container, and that is great. And now when we move down, so when we press an arrow and we move down, another request is sent to server. Okay, maybe I will use text. Yes, I want text. Okay, that's big. Request move down, and server responds with response no server actually okay server doesn't do anything, but it just corrects the positions when you do an illegal move. So let's say the server just responds with a move. That's great and that's clear. But server should detect that we are not close to this container anymore. We are just too far away to see what's inside. So the server should actually what a shitty sketchpad. I need to use GIMP or something. The server should send something like, I don't know how we call it, but container too far away, and the client will know that client knows when it receives this message, it should actually close the window, the windows with this container basically, and that is what are we going to implement. I hope you understand. I have some idea in my mind, and let's see if it will work. So what do we do right now? When client, so we have input handler, and input handler has handle keyboard state, and now when we move a player, we move the position and we send a message to server which is player move. Great. Server engine receives that message. Let's stop this. Receives that message, and it does some stuff. First off, we deserialize this, and then we check whether this move is valid, and we don't care about this right now. If it is valid, okay, if we check if we didn't move too fast, great. And if the move is valid, we just update our internal state, the player position. in our internal state. And one additional thing that we want to do here is to check whether player has subscribed to any container. And that can be done using this map, because I have this a map. I have a map here, and the key is the container identifier, let's say, and the value is a pointer to the client connection state. And it is good because here we have the client connection state. So now we can iterate over this map using for loop. So it's container sequence number, by which we identify containers, different containers, and there is a connection pointer in our in our map. And now if connection pointer is the same as our connection state, we want to check so when a player is in a certain position, it has 9 squares available, like 8 squares around it and 1 square underneath the player. So let's keep it simple right now. We can optimize that later. So let's collect all containers that are present on the available squares for the player. Okay, that seems simple. Let's do this. So int y is equal to player position okay, let's use this one, it's shorter. Y minus 1, and y is less equal than plus 1 and plus y, and same for x. Yes, and now we have some position on a map. And now if let's have a map, let's get the map from game context, and map. If the tile is not valid, let's just continue. Okay, we have a valid map here, so let's access the items. Map items on the position. Okay. XY, and let's reuse this position. Yes. Okay, so let's create a vector of sequence numbers. Let's call it containers around. And now let's iterate over the items. Item in items. And now if item MID is container, let's add it to our containers around. Pushback sequence. That's great. So now we have all containers collected, like sequence numbers of all containers that are around us. Now let's iterate over not owned containers, and for every container that is subscribed by us, okay, let's not make it a vector but an ordered set. And now if the container sequence, the subscribed container, is not present in the containers around us, contains, that basically means that we moved too far away and we should drop the subscription and notify the client that it is no longer subscribed to this container because it's too far away. Yes. So here we are going to send a simple message. Let's log something. Debug info. Let's say players move too fast. No. It's too far away. Unsubscribing. And container sequence is this. Great. And we will send a message which will be of type container unsubscribed, let's say, and let's create okay, we don't need this. Notify container as subscribed. So we will create a simple struct, and the only member of this struct will be the container sequence because that's the only thing that client needs. So we will send this message. And right now this type doesn't exist. So let's create it. Yep, it's created. Now let's create the struct. I don't want to create another file. I will Let's create the structure here, and there will be only the container sequence. So server engine do this. Return, we don't want to return here. And yeah, I think that will work right now. Let's try to build the server actually. I know it will not compile, but it's easier because this new type is not handled in one place, but it's easier to use the compiler to just point out this place. So here is the big switch case that has case for every message type, and we just need to add this message type as it is just ignored and should not be received at any time by the server. So now it should compile. Yes. Unordered set. Okay. We need to include unordered set. And actually one more thing that I forgot. Is pushback now. It is insert now container sequence. Why doesn't like that? That works. And if I container unsubscribed common, what? Okay, so CLion is just slow. So if we unsubscribe here, we actually want to remove this subscription from this map. So we will iterate over it in a bit different way using iterators. Woo! Let's begin and plus. No, we are not going to use plus plus. So now if we have okay, first off, let's get this stuff from iterator. Now if our connection is okay, let's negate it. So if our connection is different, or the containers around containers around actually contain this container, we will just increment the iterator and continue. But if If one of this is not true, no. Okay, so if our connection state is this connection state and the container is not around us, we need to remove this container. That's just copy paste, and plus we need to erase it from our map. Erase. Yes, and that should work just fine, and that should compile just fine. Now we are going to go to client and implement handling of this message. So server connection, yes, actually here server connection. Yes, let's try to compile the client. Okay, so now it's pizza time. I need to eat something, and the pizza guy is already here. So see you in a couple of minutes. For you, it's immediate. So see ya in now. Pizza is finished. Let's continue. So we need to handle this message with this new message type, which is going to use this method. Mm, Great. Now, this method will be called. Okay, so on notify container unsubscribed. Here we need to on resp subscribe. So when we subscribe, we add subscriptions to this container, and here we just want to erase that. Okay, so we need to deserialize this payload. Let's do this. Okay, it's called like this. Resp no rec msg. Yes, and here we have container sequence, and now okay, been present, because erase method returns bool, I believe. Okay, returns how many elements have been erased. So if it is like 1, if it is greater than 0, we know that this container sequence has been present in our subscriptions. Now, msubscribed container sequence, and if it was present, sorry, if it's been present, Okay, if it was erased, we want to remove this container from our state. So to access our state, we need to access it via accessor, and now we have the context here and not owned containers. We can just erase. What is it? It's okay. It's a containers collection. We can take this container out. So okay, take, and we need to container reference. This reference is consists of two things, which is item ID, and we don't have item ID right now. We have only the container. Oh well, sorry, container sequence. And so yeah, let's do this. So we basically take out the container, and we immediately, like, we don't need it, so we just not assigned it to anything, and so it will be just destroyed. Yes, that is good. Now on resp subscribe container, I need to see one more thing. And after erasing, we want to call this callback, and this callback basically will tell the game geometry. The game geometry is class that handles and owns all the sidebars and all the windows. So this callback will tell the game geometry that container state has changed. And so in game geometry, uh, on the next frame, it will calculate, it will just check whether the container, whether the windows that like view show container is still valid, which means that the container is still present. And if it's not present, it will just remove this window. That's the theory. Now let's try to run it, and we will see. Okay, so let's build everything. Yes, let's build everything. Let's run server and run client. So now we have an open container with an I there. Now, if I move left, everything should be okay. But if I move down, the window should disappear. Whoa! That works. That doesn't work. Okay, so pending container windows to open. Why? Okay, game geometry. Open container. Okay. Okay, but the thing that we just implemented works. So I can open this container. It still has some I, I can move here. Let's move this container. Okay, okay, there is an issue because when I move, the logic is like performed and the checks are checking stuff, and when I move down, it is correctly closed. But if I will once again open it and I move this backpack somewhere else, and that doesn't trigger the logic in the server, and server is not closing, it's not as unsubscribing this container from us. Okay, so let's handle that, but let's create a commit. Server unsubscribes. When player moves. Yes. Now, when we move item, there is a request sent to server, which is on rec move item. Exactly this. Okay, so when we move std array, okay, we don't need this. Where the moving? Okay, the moving is performed here. That is okay. So now let's just check if item mid is container. We want to perform the logic. Where was the logic? Here? No. Player move. Okay, so the logic is right here. So we probably want to move this Okay, so actually no, we don't need to move this because we have the item ID here. And now if I'm not owned container subscription, okay, let's find it. Found is let's find the subscription. So it's item sequence, and if we found it, we want to erase this and send the unsubscription notify. Okay, so let's erase. And send the unsubscription. Okay. So let's do like this. and that should work. Let's build the server and restart it. And run client, and now let's open this and let's move something to this, and now let's move it, and it's closed. Okay, it's closed because we need to check one more thing. If okay, we are closing it right now. We are closing basically every container that we move, but we should close it only if the container is moved far away. So we need to check the distance, the destination squared position, the distance between the player and the destination position. Which can be, let's do this right now. If it is container and okay, so where is the destination? From items to items. To items is okay, mrec2. So if y okay, is equal to std absolute of the destination position, and no, map is got from okay mgame context, mgame context and player position, player position y, and we need to subtract this, is bigger than 1, or and the same for x. Okay, and that should be it. So if we have container and it's moved far away, we want to check this stuff. That looks good. We don't need this window right here, and we need to restart the server. And now let's start the client and see. Okay, so moving around here works, which is good. When I move, it is okay. And now when I move it far away, yeah, it works. It's just crashed because I right-clicked on the backpack again. But that's another issue. We have now successfully implemented this logic, so we can commit it. Trying container far away unsubscribes. Now let's just fix this simple issue. So let's restart the server just to be sure. Okay, so we have this, and now we move it far away, and now we click on it once again, and now there is an assert that like we ensure that we have only one pending container windows to open right now. So we should clear it as soon as we get this container opened. So, and it is handled in, so like I said, the server connection is able to call the call a callback, which notifies the game geometry, which is the class that we are in, that the container state has changed. And when this game geometry is notified, this method update containers is eventually called. And here we are checking what windows we should close and what windows we should not close. Okay, so here we have pending containers windows to open, and we open windows that we can open, and we should erase the open windows from this. So we will iterate over it in a slightly different way, which is using iterators. It's begin. It's begin. Iterator is not equal and we will not increment this. Now container sequence, let's just assign it. So we get it from the iterator. Great. Now container sequence, we have container sequence here. And now if the container is, okay, so if the container is not found, which means that we did not get the container state from the server yet. So if the container is null, we just simply go to the next iteration, continue. But if it is not null, we open the window, and here we go to the next iteration by assigning the new iterator based on erasing the current iterator. And this should work. Yes. We can start server once again, and we need to recompile the, not recompile, but we need to compile the client. Okay, so now we open this, we move I to this, and we get another, okay, subscribed the same container multiple times, subscribed containers sequence. Okay, so what's up here? Okay, let's maybe restart all this, and now okay, so now, like, I imagined an approach here that when you once open the container on the ground, for example, using, for example, right click, and then the container is open, you see the window on the sidebar, and then you right click on it again. This should not send a subscribe request again, I believe. That's why I think, okay, but do you know what? I think that's another topic for another day. Actually, it's quite late today. So I'm pretty happy what we have right here. So to just conclude and summarize this, we are able now to open this window. Okay, again. We are able to open this window, move around in the near neighbor of this window, but when we move too far away, the window is closed. Now we can open it again, and we can throw it around in the near neighbor, but when we throw it too far away, it gets closed. And I'm happy with that, and I will take it right now. And I'm just gonna grow a bit. And thank you for watching this episode. Um, I will fix the issues. I will try to fix the issues during this week and to come up with another brilliant idea. What can we implement next week during the live coding? So again, thank you for watching and see ya next week. Bye.